Georgia Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to all our friends from the United States, and a very good evening to our friends joining us from India. It is indeed my pleasure to welcome all of you, including, of course, our expert panel of speakers who will be speaking to you about the opportunities for exports from Georgian companies to India and all the opportunities that there are out there for you. I'd like to begin by welcoming the Consul General of India, Atlanta, Dr. Swati Kulkarni, who is here with us to give us opening remarks and set the stage for the presentations that follow. I will just give a brief introduction before I hand over to Ross Minot, the CEO of Kraft Bank, who is hosting us here at their beautiful facility. Dr. Swati Kulkarni is a career diplomat with an MBBS, which is a Bachelor of Medicine and a Bachelor of Surgery, from Nagpur in India. She joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1995. Prior to her appointment as Consul General of India in Atlanta, she served as the Regional Passport Officer Mumbai in Maharashtra, India, as well as Consul General in Cape Town, South Africa, and Deputy Head of Mission in Muscat, Oman. Her previous overseas assignments have included First Secretary in High Commission of India in London, where she successfully worked as a nodal officer for preventing discrimination for Indian medical graduates after the implementation of the new UK immigration rules. She also served as First Secretary in the High Commission of India, Port Louis, Mauritius, and as a Third Secretary in the Embassy of India in Spain. At headquarters, her key roles have included Regional Passport Officer, Pune, Maharashtra, and as Undersecretary overseeing several countries, including Austria, Cyprus, Greece, Switzerland, Portugal, Ireland, and Spain. And now I'm going to ask Mr. Ross Minot to come and say a few words before we have Dr. Kulkarni speaking to us.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you for that gracious introduction. Dr. Kulkarni, welcome to Kraft Bank. Good morning to all members of the GIACC and to our friends in India. I'm Ross Minot. I'm the CEO of Kraft Bank, and it is our pleasure to welcome all members and honored panelists and speakers here today. I understand that this is the first live event for GIACC since COVID, so we are thrilled to play a role in this and welcome everybody back to a live event. It feels good, it is good, and we are thrilled to be there. Thank you again to everyone for tuning in, and without further ado, I will turn it over to Dr. Kulkarni. Welcome.
Thank you.
Namaskar. Good evening to Indian dignitaries, and good morning to all dignitaries here in US. So nice to be here. It's hybrid. It's a unique experience, I must say that. I'm delighted to be here in person. I was just sharing with you how glad we are to wear our new clothes and meet people rather than t-shirts and things. I'm happy that Georgia India American Chamber of Commerce, you have been doing a lot of events pre-COVID era, and then you have picked up the thread again and doing them more in this hybrid fashion, and I'm sure we will come to pre-COVID era pretty soon. See what happens when we arrange such events. There is fruitful discussion, then they offer insights for all of us, and how to utilize the possible opportunities, what a way forward, and things like that. So thanks for arranging such events, because it's a good platform for all of us. So let me give you my presentation on how we see India-US relations and how we are in the Southeast region doing our bit in this whole large scheme of things. See, just to give you a background, this this relationship is a very important relationship, a very critical relationship. It's a strategic partnership of global significance. It's multidimensional, multifaceted. It continues to deepen across diverse sectors. In fact, it touches every aspect of human existence, from depth of ocean to the vastness of space. So we do have a very strong bipartisan support in US and a cross-party support in India. We have popular support in both countries. Both people are so nicely intertwined. So that is also there. The most important thing is shared attributes, where we are open society, we are market economies, we are pluralistic societies. So more than 50 bilateral intergovernmental dialogue mechanisms we have. That itself speaks how on a very diverse scale, from top leadership to people contacts we have. That's what it is. The most important pillar is, of course, the bilateral trade and investment between the two countries. So it's set to cross $150 billion, and we hope that we will achieve our target of 500 billion plus soon, rather than sooner than later. Then there are new sectors of growth for our trade, and the India-US defense collaboration is example for that, which is set to cross again $20 billion. Again, the energy trade, which is picking up, last 4 years it is set to cross $20 billion plus. So we have a lot of thriving relationship on this front. 2,000 US companies are in India. They have invested $46 billion plus. They are the largest source of FDI. During COVID also, we have got lots of FDI from all over the world, including US. So that's again a positive sign, which speaks that India is a bright spot for all the investment. Then we also have 200 large Indian companies in USA, almost in all states. They have invested more than $22 billion plus. They have created 125,000 jobs for the locals. So these are all, these, the existing framework is there, which we can build on. So it's a very important relationship where lots and lots of opportunities are there. Then we are also, during this COVID, we have done a lot of work on scientific collaboration there on Gilead and Merck and all. We have done the remdesivir and things like that. As of now, we are working on 6 vaccines where both countries researchers are doing a lot of work. So 200 plus projects are there already between our two countries in science and technology. So that's again an important relationship. So other new sectors of growth for us are medical devices, chemical industry, agriculture, of course. I know Pecan's from Georgia. So all those things are there, and they will help us to make this target of 500 billion plus in near future. Then the AC region, the next slide, I can see, in Southeast region, as you know, we are dealing with 6 states and 2 territories. We have Alabama, Mississippi, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, and Puerto Rico and Virgin Islands. So this region is an important region, and we have a bilateral merchandise trade. In 2019 it was 12.4 billion. In 2020 it was 11 billion. There is a 12% drop, but we feel that it will be in next 5-6 months it will be about 6 to 7% addition to that. So we do have 160 Indian companies here, which are small, medium, those in services sectors. So 54 are in
स्टार्ट
manufacturing
वीडियो भी कर दो
and rest are in
हाँ
services sectors. So our investment here is 13.5 billion investment, and they have helped in creating 12,000 plus jobs in this particular region. So the diaspora is 450,000 plus. So it's a very important region for us, where a lot of IT people are coming, and then we are not even talking about the hotel industry, the Indian doctors, and those who are in convenience stores and things like that. So the Southeast region, we have seen extensive engagement in recent years, and that's why our consulate is here since 2011. And we are building on this extensive relationship, extensive outreach, what we can call here, rather than relationship. So lots of engagements like this Carpet Export Promotion Council came here. Then there was global IT delegation, Global Soft we call it. Then there were visits from here to India, like vice mayor, then commissioners from various counties they have visited. So lot of interest is being generated, and the most important thing is South Carolina has a trade office in India, and since 2015 they have opened the trade office. In India, nobody knew what South Carolina is. Everybody knew that New York, Washington, Los Angeles, and things like that. But see what happens when South Carolina opened office. We have seen a recent investment there of $90 million of Sundaram Clayton. They have helped in creating 250 jobs. They are making those aluminum sheets which are required for the cars. So see, when the trade office is open, the laser focus is there and the people can do the business. So we are pushing that Georgia, Florida, they should also open trade offices in India, so that people know that what opportunities lie here and how it becomes Indian investors to do business in US and US investors to business in India. So this becomes a very good launching pad for all of us. The next slide, I will see, doing business with India, why we say, because India, again, it's a democracy, it's an open society. And in recent years, we have seen, I just want to quote these two important statistics. The ease of doing business has jumped from some 142 in 2015 to 63rd rank. So we can open a company in a day now in India. Then we have other related reforms like Make in India, Digital India, Skill India, and that have also created a flourishing economic environment. Then we have other policy reforms like Janadhana Yojana, that is what we call banking for all. And then we have a biometric identity card. So 1.1 billion people have biometric identity card. The mobile phone, 1.1 billion subscribers have, and a banking is available for people. So this trinity, what we call that biometric identity card in your pocket, mobile in your hands, and a bank, bank where you can deposit your money. So this has helped Indians profoundly. They are not even using credit card, debit card. They are using unified payment interface. So people are doing Google Pay, Paytm, and things like that. So even the rural area they are using. Even a farmer will have a bank account, and he more than 80% population have a bank account. And this important reform was utilized in COVID-19, when about 420 million people were given cash benefits at the click of button. So that's the India we are talking about. And we do have a one single tax for whole nation, and that's called GST, which is called the Goods and Services Tax. So one market, one nation, so there is no economic disintegration as far as India is concerned. So these reforms have made India to jump our, in ease of doing business ranking. And we do have new IPR laws and the bankruptcy laws and things, so that we don't have those non-performing assets, those sorts of things. And the innovation, here India is poised to become a knowledge economy. We are scaling high on innovation. See, the rank is 52. Recently, I was seeing our rank has even crossed. It's 48 now. So we have jumped on innovation on a phenomenally, quick way. We have startups, we have Fortune 500, 400 companies in India. And if you want to do any science and technology related research, you will save lots and lots of money. So that's what the US investors can utilize India platform for doing their businesses and earning lots of money. So lots of opportunity because our economy is opening up, and also doing business with USA. USA also has a very conducive, very constructive regulatory framework. All states will have different rules, but once you understand them, it's very easy to do the business in USA. You know how to take the credits, enforce the contracts, and things like that. So structural the structural methodology, how you can do is, you can have corporation or LLC and things which Indian investor can utilize, and they can do it directly, or they can have a business with US entity. So these are the two important, I can say, the democracies where our investors can really do a good business, where there are lots of opportunities. Next slide. See, the trade opportunities recently, our minister, who is a Minister of Commerce and Industry, he was having interaction with USTR, and they are also trying to see how we can have a trade deal between India and US, because that will become an overarching package where our investors can utilize lots of various reciprocal arrangements which can help in giving fillip to the current existing bilateral trade. So how we can do it? Institutional linkages like Georgia Indo-American Chamber of Commerce can have institutional linkages with various export promotion council. And today I understand you are also having Indian American Chamber of Commerce who are talking. See, these linkages help in bridging the gaps, having cross-fertilization of ideas, and you can make each other understand the rules and regulation position in each of the country. So apart from G2G, that is what we call government to government, these institutional linkages are important. Bilateral visits are happening from the political level, but even the knowledge network between people to people, that can also help. The direct connectivity, we are talking with Delta to have a cargo facility which can give fillip to the trade. So that's also being entertained and explored right now. Then establishment of trade offices in India, I already gave you example of South Carolina. And see, that is the result during pandemic also. South Carolina maintained the bilateral trade figures with India at about $1.8 billion. So all the states showed a little downward trend, but the South Carolina maintained its trend because of perhaps the trade office is one of the important factor in that consideration. So the bilateral trade deal is really, really critical for us, so that various reciprocal issues where each party wants to have the sort of engagement will help us in reaching out and making sure that our investors have a very conducive environment, a flourishing environment for doing the business and earn money. And that's what we want everybody to earn money. Okay, so the next slide we have is the I have it's the last slide. I really always emphasize people to people contacts, which is the most important aspect of any relationship. And that is where we both countries have done really well. The Howdy Modi event my Prime Minister is addressing, 50,000 plus people were there at Houston. Uh, your the bipartisan relationship where your president have been to India and my prime minister have been there. So really we have to capitalize it and make sure that we do a very, very good business between the two countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. This is David Gault, your moderator for the day, and we're beaming live here from Atlanta, Georgia. It's a beautiful summer morning, and we're so excited that you are all here. And we also want to again welcome our our sister concern, the IACC, coming to us from India. And thanks a lot, everybody, for coming in tonight. And we're going to have a very great hour-long presentation of our topic of Georgia exports to India. So I'll be your moderator, and I'd like to first introduce to you our Commissioner of Agriculture for the state of Georgia, Mr. Gary Black. Mr. Black is a third-term elected official who's served in Georgia for over 40 years in the agricultural business. Mr. Black and his associate, Mr. Paul Thompson, will be giving you an upshot of the wide range of agricultural products Georgia produces. Mr. Black has also recently announced his candidacy for U.S. Senate in 2020, so he's looking for a promotion. And but he has a lot of information on our largest industry in Georgia, which is agriculture. So without further ado, Commissioner Black, please come on, and we look forward to hearing from you.
David, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and good evening to our friends. We're certainly glad to be with you today, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity. First of all, I do want to say, I know my colleague, our director of marketing, Paul Thompson, is certainly an enormous contributor today. We're very excited about the business opportunities there will be for to continue to develop our relationship with India, such a close partner in so many ways. But we think there's enormous opportunity from agriculture. To Consul General, it's so good to see you this morning. I know there are many other friends that are on the call today, so we're honored to share this time with you. I think there's so many possibilities, and we're looking forward to being a very strong partner moving forward. Let me say too, from a cultural standpoint, from agriculture, I'd like to point out why this is so important to us. We'll get to some of you start seeing some of the slides before you, but it really goes back in from a historical standpoint. For many of you, hopefully a little bit of our heritage, because I know that's important to you. Georgia, of course, we often ask people, where did we get our name? George, we come from King George. That's when this colony, and then we became a state. That's it was a natural progression for history's purpose. But it's really interesting. I think it's important to know what our name means. I think many of us know what our parents gave us our name, but there's meaning in a family name. Well, there's meaning in the name of Georgia. George is the feminine form of George, but in the Greek language, it actually means a farmer, or the feminine form would be a female farmer. So it is my belief, closely held belief, that when it comes to agriculture is what we're meant to do. I believe it's in the core of our being, because we find that even in our name, it means a farmer. So we're so strong in so many different commodities. We have such a great heritage there, but I believe a great future. And part of that great future lies with strengthening our trading opportunities with our partners in India. You see here a great slide here that talks about our top commodities. We're number one in America in the production of total poultry. We're number one in forest products. We're number one in peanut. We're number one in pecan. We did have some danger, some really problems with our Hurricane Michael a couple of years ago that was very devastating to our pecan industry, but they are roaring back, and we still expect to lead the nation there as certainly for we hope for generations to come. But those are our top commodities. You see some of the other things that we're very wonderful producers of these products that are staples in agriculture production. But we have great competency in these areas that I hope everyone can have an appreciation for. I think maybe go to the next slide. Paul, do you have something to add on this particular slide?
Not rather than
Go
we
ahead.
have consolidated all the information to this one slide, and we're going to share your full presentation in our website tomorrow. So we consolidated all the information to this one slide.
Right. Okay. Really good. But I'm very confident as we build this relationship, and that's what's so important. This is we have so many shared interests. We look at the opportunities, not just these commodities, but I would speak, Consul General, to give you my most sincere thanks again. We shared a meal together not too long ago, and I know Dr. Nilgaru, Dr. Neal's a dear friend, pulling together those your team and our team together for the future of one of our most important commodities is pecan, and we've got some really good discussions going on there. There are some great opportunities to introduce, hopefully that to the Indian market soon, and discuss how to do that. I think there's some great really business opportunities that would be brand new. And I want you to know that our follow-up conversations with those business leaders that we've shared the meal with are still very, very positive. And I think I continue to hear of some of the dialogue and trips that are planned for October and November. So we're very, very excited about that. So I thank all of you for the opportunity to share a little bit of this as we move forward. If there's some questions I could help tackle, I'd be happy to. But that's our snapshot today. But I want us to. I think sometimes when we look at reports like the day or different slides, I think it's important to look at the past of where we've come from, and all of us. Maybe the best way to put that is in the form of what when we get in our vehicles. That, there's a rear view mirror, but there's a windshield, and we learn a lot from the past, and there's a lot we can build on from the past. But my challenge is always for us to be a windshield people looking forward. And I want you to know that I really have a strong passion for building this relationship with our friends in India, and you can certainly count on me. And we will be look through the windshield together for great possibilities. So I want to thank all of you for the opportunity to be here, and love to have the dialogue as we move forward.
Well, thank you very much, Commissioner Black. That was a fantastic upshot of Georgia's very strong agricultural stance, and especially for all our Indian audience, finding new food products, new agricultural items to bring into India is, I guess, one of the main focuses that we as a group in the GIACC want to help promote as much as we can. So thank you very much for that information, and thank you for taking some time out of your very busy schedule to give us a very rousing upshot of the strong position of agriculture in Georgia.
Very good.
So thank you, sir. And
Thank you.
all right. And Mr. Thompson, would you like to add any other comment there of anything else that would be of
Sure.
interest?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. I think it's worthy of note. We mentioned when this meeting was kicking off that, let's see, start my video. Here we go. Mentioned when this meeting was kicking off that this was the first live event that you had hosted. It's worthy of note that the last, Commissioner, if I'm not mistaken, the last live event, in-person event that you and I went to in mid-March of 2020 was at the Consulate General's residence, and we were discussing pecans and potentials and things that we may be able to get into going forward. And then, as the commissioner mentioned just a few minutes ago, hosting those folks here at the department to have a lunch and talk about pecans again last month. So we're excited to work on this front. We're excited to work through some of the tariff issues. I know that we've got RG speaking in a little bit, and he can tell us all about pecans. Our friends from the Southern United States Trade Association, I believe, are also on the agenda. So we can hear a little bit about timber and pecan with the ATP program that we've worked there. So David, I'll stay on the line, and I'll be happy to answer questions as we go, but we're excited to work with this potential and look at the commodities that could be of value to India.
Great. Thank you, Paul. And thank you, Commissioner Black. And we appreciate your contributions. So moving on, we'd like to introduce now Mr. Rao, who is the National President of the Indian American Chamber of Commerce. The Indian American Chamber of Commerce is attached to the U.S. Embassy and consulates, and there are many branches throughout India. And Mr. Rao if you're ready,
Yes.
welcome.
Thank
And tell us more about your group.
Well, good morning to all members in the US, and good evening to all members in India. I'm delighted to be present here today and deliver special address at the webinar on Georgia export opportunities to India. It is indeed pleasure to share the dais with Dr. Swati Kulkarni, Consul General of India, Atlanta, and Mr. Gary Black, Commissioner of Agriculture, Georgia Department of Agriculture, and other officials from the Georgia Economic Development Board and business executives from Atlanta and Georgia. In the past, IACC and GIACC have worked on several projects in meeting the business needs of members representing Indo-US business community. Let me begin by saying few words about IACC, that is Indo-American Chamber of Commerce in India. IACC is an apex bilateral chamber formed in the year 1968 to focus on improving Indo-US bilateral trade exchanges and deliberate upon relevant areas of trade policy and investments. Well, we are 53 years old. With 53 years of existence, we have networked extensively with both the governments, including corporates, to boost trade and create entrepreneurial opportunities through B2B linkages, trade delegation, and focused seminars and conferences. Pan India, we have close to 1,800 members with 10 offices. Dr. Kulkarni rightly mentioned about increasing trade to 500 billion, in addition to mentioning about several trade happenings between the United States and India. IACC will continue promoting national theme on a pan-India basis, achieving USD 500 billion trade between the two nations, which was originally coined by both the governments and during the tenure of Vice President Mr. Joe Biden. There is enough literary and folklore-based evidence to suggest the links between India and Georgia and awareness of India in Georgia have existed from very early times of human civilization. Actually, I graduated from Knoxville, Tennessee, and our closest big city is Atlanta, and I used to come to Atlanta very frequently when I was in Knoxville, Tennessee. And Georgia, as we all know, Georgia is a home to many Indian industries, and some of the major sectors of Indian investment has been in the area of steel, infrastructure, agriculture, farming, and service sectors, amounting to nearly 50 million USD. The two-way trade roughly stands around USD 700 million. Top exports from Georgia to India include gas turbines, internal combustion piston engines, miscellaneous chemicals, and wood pulp. Georgia's top imports from India include tractors, parts, and accessories for special purpose motor vehicles, bed linen, carpets, and other textile floor coverings, television receivers, and electric transformers. There are, I think, 54 Georgian companies operating in India and 29 Indian facilities at Georgia. Indian affiliated companies employs more than 750 Georgians. The COVID-19 pandemic has compelled us to find new ways to conduct business and to engage in diplomacy. A meeting earlier this year took place between Georgian Prime Minister, and the Ambassador of India, Kishan Deval, about the opportunities of bringing a free trade agreement between the two countries. I feel both the countries have immense potential in taking trade and business to the next level. As technology have been a way of life in past, we have organized several webinars for our members, and we will continue to host the same relevant events. Well, I hope there will be plenty of takeaways from this hybrid meeting, and I think after a long time we are seeing a hybrid meeting because most of our recent meetings are completely virtual, and it's nice to see you all, and thank you very much. I appreciate giving me an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rao. That was fantastic presentation. And boy, I didn't know 54 companies from Georgia operating in India. That's a lot. Let's we'll make that goal, get up to 75 as fast as possible. Maybe we can get something else going from just this seminar. Thank you very much. And thank you to the IACC, all streaming live on Wednesday evening in India. So, and thank you very much for, again, coming today. And we want to move on in our agenda to Mr. Stefan Harrigan, who is with the Georgia Economic Development Office. Stefan is actually in charge of export development within the office and works with over a dozen different countries intimately on helping promote Georgia business. And we want to make India, though, now one of the top focuses of the state of Georgia. And as India is, rising in the ranks now as far as an exporter. So we're hoping better ties can be developed in the near future. So Stefan, please tell us more about your office and the opportunities that are available for future exporters and importers.
Thank you very much, David, for the introduction. And thank you to the Georgia Indo-American Chamber of Commerce for organizing and hosting this event. And of course, to the Kraft Bank for hosting us here. And thank you especially to Consul General Kulkarni for your remarks and for all the work that you do to promote ties between Georgia and India. It's greatly appreciated. So I work with the Georgia Department of Economic Development, GIACC for short, which is the sales and marketing arm for the state of Georgia. And specifically, I work in the International Trade Division. And our division works with Georgia businesses, small, medium, and large businesses to help them enter new markets and grow their exports. And so we do that with market intelligence, international connections, and global insight. So before outlining a bit more about the services that we provide, I'd love to share more about the trade profile, Georgia's general trade profile, and its specific trade profile with India. So in 2020, we know it was a difficult year for business, for trade in general, but Georgia was still pretty strong and certainly very resilient. We exported over 38 billion in goods. It was slightly less than in 2019, but what was actually interesting was that of the top 10 exporting states in the US, Georgia had the smallest contraction or decrease in international trade or in exports. So it really reflects that resilience that we saw in Georgia businesses. Georgia was ranked 7th among states for total trade in 2020, which is worth 137 billion. And we have reps in 12 strategic markets, as David mentioned. I'll elaborate more on that later. But interesting to know is that those 12 markets where we have representation represent 67% of where exports go. So we're pretty well covered internationally. And we know that we're covering territories where more than 2/3 of Georgia exports are actually going. We also had companies trade with 221 unique countries and territories internationally. And on the presentation that will be shared later, you can see the top 10 markets where we had total trade. So some other interesting facts about Georgia's global trade trends are that 88% of Georgia companies, or actually 88% of Georgia exporters are actually small to medium-sized enterprises. So it's not just for your large multinationals. The vast majority of Georgia exporters are actually small to medium-sized enterprises. And then another fact that we like to include is that 95% of the world's consumers live outside of the United States. And so one thing that I think we saw, especially during this past year, is the importance of diversifying your markets and diversifying your consumers. And so one of the great ways that you can do that is to export. There's literally a world of consumers out there, and exporting can help you access them. So more specifically on Georgia's trade profile with India, India was Georgia's 13th largest export market in 2020 with 750 million in exports. It was also Georgia's 12th largest total trade partner with 3 billion in total trade. And also exports between exports from Georgia to India have more than tripled in the past 15 years. And India is also the 7th largest consumer market in the world. So definitely a market that should be included in any company's international market strategy or when it's examining where it should consider. definitely look at India because the consumer base there is tremendous. The top exports to India include civilian aircraft, engines and parts, computers, chemical wood pulp, insecticides, and kaolin. And of course, a wide variety of other products are exported as well. But of those products, Georgia actually leads the country in the export of chemical wood pulp, insecticides, and kaolin. So we're the #1 exporter of those products to India. Another interesting piece that I looked at in terms of the most recent data that we have available, looking at last year, we know that there was a trade decrease between Georgia and India. But this year, the most recent data we have available was April, and we can see that our exports to India have increased 10% year to date over last year, and so we're getting back to about that same figure that we saw in 2019. So trade's really rebounding, and we're seeing that it's coming back certainly as strong as it was in 2019, and hopefully much stronger as we continue. The trade team here in Atlanta is composed of 10 individuals. We're led with the Deputy Commissioner, Mary Waters, and Division Director, Don Townsend. We also have a dedicated trade research analyst who's able to facilitate any of your research needs. And then we have currently 4 international trade managers who focus in different sectors. So their specializations include agriculture, technology, aerospace and defense, and the medical industry. In addition to that, a really critical piece or resource that we have available to Georgia companies are our international representatives, and those are based in 12 markets around the world. But they actually cover more than just the specific markets where they're in. So, for instance, we have an office in Germany, but they also cover Italy, Austria, Switzerland. We have an office in the UK, but they also cover Ireland and the Benelux region. So it's not just limited to those markets that they are in. Importantly, I would like to note that we do not have a dedicated representative in India currently, but that doesn't mean that we can't provide services or assistance or help you with potentially locating in-market experts. Another thing that you'll see once the PowerPoint is shared later on is a map that shows all the destinations where we have supported export successes internationally, and India is one of those markets. So even though we don't retain representation directly in India, we can certainly still support and assist your export needs. And so on that note, I can talk a little bit more about the specific services that we provide. What we provide in the Atlanta office is a little bit different from what we provide internationally, but we work together with our reps very closely. So in the Atlanta based team, we can provide research. There'll be a list of databases that are included in the presentation to be shared that we can use to assist you. Included in those are due diligence databases, so we can look at companies that you're interested in partnering with or potential international buyers, and help vet them, help share information, financial information that might inform you whether or not they can be a reliable partner for you. We also provide customized export assistance. We problem solve certain export challenges. Companies have a lot of unique situations that they come across, and we're certainly always there to try and help you. And if we don't have the answer, hopefully connect you with someone who can, who does have the answer. We also work with companies to take them to international trade shows and conduct international trade missions. It's a really wonderful way to not only interact and meet with potential buyers and customers, but to also get access to larger booth spaces, because as a state entity, we're able to bring multiple companies in international trade shows. So it's a good way for companies to get more exposure that way, rather than if they would just go directly. Then we also have trade opportunity alerts, where we share different opportunities that we become aware of. These are vetted international trade leads, and so we share them with in our newsletter, but then also targeted to the industries and companies that are in those industries where there are opportunities that we know in specific markets. Lastly, then for that Atlanta side, we also have an export directory, which showcases a variety of different companies from different industries in Georgia that are actively exporting, and the goods or services that they can provide internationally. So that directory helps facilitate connections between international buyers and local exporters here in Georgia. So on the international side, our representatives really provide so much incredible value for us, for Georgia businesses. So if you haven't already taken advantage of their services, I would definitely recommend you to do so if you're looking to export. And what our reps can do, they're actually located in the markets that they represent. So they know the languages, they know the customs, the culture, they have the connections and the road in, so to speak. And so they can provide market assessments, where they provide market intelligence that can help companies determine the suitability and viability of a given international market. We can provide business partner searches, where we locate potential business partners, whether it's buyers, distributors, or agents, and then also connect Georgia companies with those potential business partners. They can also set up in-person meetings in the market. And then they can also provide specific information, so regulatory clarification, paperwork requirements, all these things that may not be very easily digestible or understandable when you're first looking at those websites and trying to understand the information. And then one last resource I'd like to mention is our Go Global Georgia initiative. It is a grant program for Georgia exporters. It's an opportunity for companies to get funding. It's funded through the Small Business Administration, the SBA, through their STEP fund. So that is Georgia's STEP program, for those who are familiar with the program. And so if you're engaged in a variety of different eligible activities, be it translating marketing materials, if you're traveling international to meet with potential business partners, if you're looking to go to an international trade show, and you're a small business, then you can apply for funding that will cover up to 50% of those costs, or 75% if you're an eligible minority business. So the presentation that will be shared later will have more information on that, and the links that can provide you more information, but certainly want to make sure that Georgia exporters are aware of that. So thank you all very, very much for listening and for your time. Thank you again to the Georgia Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. These events are so important, and we're very pleased to be a part of it.
Thank you, Stefan. What a lot of information. Fantastic report on really such a dynamic state we have as far as doing business here. And might I add that, yes, Georgia has been ranked #1 for the last 8 years in the best state in the United States to do business and to start a business. So we can see why. So it's a great resource to all of our listeners, and we'll make sure your complete presentation is posted on our website. So thank you very much. Moving on, we'd like to introduce to you Danielle Coco, and she is the marketing director of the Southern U.S. Trade Association, which is a federal program that is all about exports, all about helping the southern states here in her 15-state region to promote, market, and help exporters prosper. She has a lot of interesting programs as far as reimbursements, helping out with trade shows overseas, and a lot of other information. So without further ado, Danielle, welcome to the GIACC Georgia Exports Seminar. Take it away.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you all. I am not based in Georgia. I am here in New Orleans, Louisiana, where SUSTA is headquartered. But Georgia is among our 15 southern states that make up the SUSTA region. So the Southern U.S. Trade Association is a nonprofit trade association that is funded primarily through the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So our mission is to help Southern U.S. agriculture, everybody from farmers and growers to manufacturers of agricultural products, ranchers, help them export U.S. products. So we have a lot of exciting programs that I think will work well with what the Georgia Department of Economic Development offers, and we work very closely with the Georgia Department of Agriculture. They are our members. Commissioner Black is on our board, and they're great partners. Georgia is one of our most active states. We work with a lot of Georgia pecan companies. You'll hear from one of our participants. I think he's up next with Lamar Pecan. So we work with a ton of Georgia exporters to be in our program. Sorry, I have my presentation printed out, the one that you'll get later. Companies just have to meet some eligibility requirements. You need to be a small business, which is actually fairly large. We go by the SBA, Small Business Administration size standards. So I think it's, for most manufacturers, about 1,000 employees or less. And you have to be promoting U.S. agriculture. So we want to see that the products you're using, our programs to promote, are made from at least 50% U.S. agriculture. So farmed, fished, or forested here in the U.S. And then the products just have to have a brand name. So we're helping individual companies promote their brands. And then we have a lot of exciting things that we're offering. With COVID, we had to, as everybody did, really, not change course entirely, but alter how we did things. And we ended up offering a lot of new services. We've always done a lot of webinars, educational webinars. So for instance, last year, we probably did upwards of 30 webinars, whereas in previous years, we'd maybe do about one a month. So we did have one. We have a consultant who's based in New Delhi, and we had a webinar just on the Indian market, all the trends and opportunities, challenges, and even all of the updates with COVID. So things like that. We are in the middle of an export readiness training course. So this is for companies that are not exporting yet, but are poised and ready to go. And they just need help on, how exactly to do it and how to do it the right way, starting with market research, how to price your products, all the way to creating your foreign marketing plans. We have an export helpline. So for our companies that have specific questions about the export process, we have an expert on hand who can help answer all of those questions. And for educational purposes, we also have access to all of the USDA's reports. So USDA has staff in, I believe it's 93 countries around the world, usually within the US Embassy, and they're working on behalf of US agriculture. And these folks are publishing reports every year. So I think the one on India, the big one, was published in February of this year, and it has incredible information about what's happening in the market, what's allowed. They have reports specifically about labeling, or what ingredients are prohibited, or anything really that would apply to agriculture, and it really gets into details and specifics. So if you're somebody who's looking to export agriculture, these reports are invaluable when you're going into a market. But our core programs beyond education are global events and 50% cost share. Through our global events, companies can meet qualified foreign buyers. So we organize trade missions that take place here in the US, as well as trade missions that take place out in the foreign markets. And we also have pavilions at trade shows all over the world. So for instance, last year, of course, it was canceled, but we had a pavilion scheduled for Seattle, India, and a trade mission. So companies who are going to come with us to that event. I'm trying to remember where the show was, in Mumbai, and maybe we had the trade mission in New Delhi the week before, and then our companies were going to the show in Mumbai, or maybe it was reversed. I can't remember. Anyway, it's opportunities like that where we are matchmaking our companies directly with qualified foreign buyers. These are incredible opportunities. They're typically low cost. The trade missions that take place here in the US are usually about $25. And in fact, we have a virtual India trade mission that I wanted to mention. It's taking place in September. All the meetings will be on Zoom, unfortunately, and it's only $25. And for that fee, you will get a customized market assessment for your company and products. Companies will also get a market briefing from our consultants who are based in New Delhi. And then, of course, the one-on-one meetings with buyers, and reimbursement of up to $100 $200 to get your products into the market. So what we're doing, we are having our US companies ship samples of their products to our foreign consultant, who then gets them into the hands of the buyers that you'll be meeting on Zoom to really imitate what an in-person trade mission would be as much as we can. I mean, nothing replaces in-person, but we figured to at least get your products into the hands of the person that you're pitching is definitely a step closer to being there in person. And then we also have a yellow pine log trade mission that's scheduled to come to Maryland and Georgia. So we're bringing Indian buyers who are focused on the yellow pine log industry, and that is happening in November. So I don't know if we have any lumber timber companies on the line, but we work with companies beyond just, I would say a lot of the companies we work with are food and beverage, but we do work beyond those industries. All of our events are on our events page on our website, which will all be in the presentation that you'll get. And then I also wanted to mention our 50% cost share program. So through cost share, companies can apply to get 50% of their international marketing expenses back. So things like if you were to exhibit at a trade show in India, it would be half of your booth fee, travel for 2 people, so your flight, hotel, and a per diem. If you also had to then, ship samples and marketing materials, that's 50% reimbursable. Creating your marketing materials, everything basically tied to that show. But also if, once you have foreign distribution, you can request 50% reimbursement to do things like advertise in a foreign market, whether that's, Google ads or social media or a billboard, or you want to wrap a van, anything that's going to build your brand in the foreign market through advertising, in-store sampling. So if you're like me and you go to Whole Foods or Costco and you leave full, it's because you've had all these great samples, and you can do that in a foreign country and have SUSTA reimburse 50% of the cost of doing things like that as well. Packaging and label changes, if you have to, which you would for India, modify your labels or your packaging to meet their import requirements, SUSTA can reimburse 50% of the translation, creating new plates, all the things that are going to go into creating that new packaging. And then we can also reimburse half of creating the new packaging for that foreign market. So whatever that is. So it is a great program. We can reimburse up to $300,000 a year. The trick is you have to apply first. So, and it's not a grant, it's a reimbursement. So you would apply, the 2022 application opens up in August, but it's rolling. So we're still accepting 2021 applications, but you let us know in advance, where you want to promote your products and what kind of eligible expenses you want to do in those markets and how much you think it's going to cost. And then you pay a 6% fee on the amount that you request in reimbursement. And then beyond that, you go out, you do your promotions, and then you submit your expense claims to us. So a pretty straightforward process. And we would love to get you involved and help support your brands in India and beyond. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Danielle. That was a lot of great information. And what a great service. I mean, the US government is very, very committed to helping exporters promote their items, and more specifically to help Indian importers who are qualified, also benefit from all of the programs that the Exim Bank and SUSTA are able to offer you. And I'm very glad you brought up about lumber. Lumber and logs, as Georgia is the #1 producer of wood products in the country, either paper pulp, logs, lumber. And that's a big item I know in India that, they need, especially new species like pine, oak, and other things. So those are some other great opportunities. We'll all look forward to those seminars and maybe have some people sign up for your program. So thank you very much. Moving on, Mr. R.G. Lamar as the chairman of the Georgia Pecan Commission. R.G. is a very diverse executive. Not only is he a family farmer of a 2,000-acre pecan farm where he grows his own pecans, but also he is the president of Stuckey's, Sucky's Corporation, which is a household name in the US, a very famous brand for pecan candies, and chocolates, and gifts all over the USA. And also he is here representing the Georgia Pecan Commission. And pecans are, Georgia's own nut, the official nut of Georgia. And especially in India, where they're always looking for a non-animal meat protein source, pecans are, I think, be a very good option. So, RG, please tell us more.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and good morning. I suppose it's good afternoon, maybe, for those joining in India. We thank everybody for joining, and thanks to the GIACC for putting together a great program. I'm truly honored to be able to play a part in this. I'm going to touch on 3 points today: the tremendous potential for pecans in India, the importance of protecting quality when we get to that point, and then I'll also talk about the win-win benefits of eliminating the 36% tariff on pecans. So I took a trip to India. It's been over a decade ago now. It was 2009. Had a wonderful time. You have a beautiful country and a beautiful culture, and I always recommend to my friends, it's a great place to visit. The purpose of my trip was to find out, is there much potential for Georgia pecans in India? And so my first 2 points were really my salient takeaways from that trip. I think there is a tremendous potential for pecans in India. For one, all the samples we gave out were very well received. As you know, walnuts are very popular already in India. Pecans are a similar nut, and so a lot of times when we handed out samples, everyone thought they were walnuts initially, so we had to kind of correct that. But then when they tasted it, they said, "Oh, it's very similar, maybe a little sweeter." So they were very well received just from the taste profile. But in addition to that, just from a dietary perspective, pecans fit a really good niche in India. As you know, very high population of vegetarians. Vegetarians are always looking for plant-based sources of protein. And there are very few, or at least a very limited number of categories of food that you can get plant-based protein from, nuts being one of the biggest sources. So it is unfortunate that pecans have not been available in India to this point. So I think from that perspective alone, they would be very well received as a plant-based protein. Additionally, I've learned recently that there's a large diabetic population in India. Pecans, of all nuts, pecans and macadamia nuts share the lowest total net carbohydrates value of all nuts. So in addition to the plant-based protein, you get very healthy fats from pecans with a very low carb load, which would be important to that diabetic population. And then the health and nutrition fact that many people are not aware of is that pecans have the highest antioxidant value of any nut. And so that, of course, as we've all learned, is very important for reducing risk for cardiovascular disease. So from the health perspective and the plant-based protein perspective and the flavor profile, I'm convinced without a shadow of a doubt, pecans, if they were affordable and available in India, would be a runaway success as a product. The second thing I did learn from the trip, though, is that we will have to be very careful about protecting the quality of the product. I actually did see some pecans available in the market in India, but they were all stored in glass jars that were not hermetically sealed. And actually, it's funny, when I first saw that, they had a lot of nuts there on the shelf, I didn't even recognize the pecans because they had gotten so dark in the climate. As you know, much of India has the warm and humid climate. We Georgians know a thing or two about warm and humid climates. So we've learned how to protect pecans in that situation. So I've got 3 tips for you that when you do begin importing pecans, I think if you'll follow these tips, we won't have any issues with quality, which is going to be very important because, you know, in that situation, like the shop I walked into that had the dark rancid pecans on the shelf, if a new consumer walks in and is interested in trying a new product and asks for the pecans and puts that in their mouth, they're gonna have a very bad experience. And so if that's the experience most people have, we will not be successful developing the market in India. So here are my 3 tips. The first is make sure you buy pecans from a supplier who is able and willing to vacuum seal the packaging. Vacuum sealing is a great tool for pecans. The 3 things that cause rancidity and loss of shelf life are light, heat, and oxygen. So the box, of course, takes care of the light, but the vacuum seal removes all the oxygen from around the pecans. So that just leaves the heat. And if you take away the other 2, the heat doesn't act nearly as quickly. We can actually get 2 years of shelf life from a vacuum sealed box of pecans. My second tip for you is make sure that the importers who are bringing the product into India are willing and able to put them in the freezer or at least the refrigerator. Frozen pecans last for years with little to no deterioration of quality. But even if not, if you refrigerate the pecans and they're vacuum sealed, you'll be just fine for 2 years. And then finally, the retailers who are selling the product, we need to make sure that they're packaged in consumer packaging that's hermetically sealed, not the glass jars like I saw when I was there. But if we follow those 3 tips, I think we'll be able to get pecans to Indian consumers that they will love, and we'll be able to develop a really economically valuable and beneficial market for pecans in India. So in the light of all that, you may be thinking, well, why is it that almonds and pistachios already have a huge market in India, but pecans have not been developed yet? And so that gets to my third point. The answer is we have a 36% tariff on pecans coming into India at this time, whereas other tree nuts like almonds and pistachios currently have a 10% tariff. And my plea to you is I believe it'll be a win-win if we are able to negotiate the decrease of that tariff to 10% on pecans. It'll provide for a very economically beneficial import product for the Indian market. And it'll be a benefit to those Indian consumers who are looking for plant-based proteins, other nut varieties that they don't yet have access to that are healthy and delicious. So for our part, the pecan industry in Georgia has written numerous letters to our representatives in the Senate and Congress, and letters to Trade Rep Lighthizer and now the Trade Rep Ty, asking them in their negotiations with Indian trade negotiators to make this a priority. And so, you know, I would encourage the Indian trade negotiators, you know, you can present it as a concession to our side, but in reality, I think it's a win-win for all of us. So thank you again for your time and for joining on the call, and I'll be happy to answer any questions at the end of the presentations.
Thank you. Thank you very much, RG, for a great rundown on the pecan business here in Georgia. Moving on, we're going to head into logistics, as in how do you get your goods from Georgia into India, and what resources and assets here from Atlanta, from Georgia we have. So I'd like to introduce you all to Scott Gabler, Director of International Accounts for Atlanta-based United Parcel Services, who has a great presentation about what's happening and what's new with UPS in India. Scott, take it away.
Great, thank you. Great, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today to speak to the group, as well as to speak on behalf of UPS. Going to speak kind of high level about UPS capabilities and our interaction with India. Also, a little bit about what's happening in the industry. There's a lot of changes with everything that's happened with COVID that are impacting all parts of the globe. So we'll speak on that. And then also some things that UPS has done recently specific to India. So high level, many of you probably are aware UPS is a Georgia-based company, $85 billion company. We basically provide transportation and logistics services that impact virtually every part of the supply chain. On a daily basis, we deliver roughly 24 million packages around the globe daily. We serve 220 countries. We have a fleet of over 270 aircraft of our own, as well as a fleet of delivery vehicles in excess of 125,000 that we deliver packages. A lot of that asset structure is really driven towards supporting our small package portion of the business. So most of us are very familiar with the UPS driver who comes and delivers packages to your house. That network is supported by a lot of that infrastructure. But outside of that, there's another part of UPS that really serves the international market on a broader, bigger scale, and that's our Supply Chain Solutions group. And within Supply Chain Solutions, we're focused on non-small package deliveries. So this would include international air freight, ocean freight of containerized shipments, as well as we operate distribution facilities around the globe where we have customers that have their inventory in our facilities, and we're able to fulfill deliveries to end customers from our warehouses. So speaking a bit on the air freight side, we don't actually own or operate aircraft on the air freight side. We contract with third-party providers, Delta Airlines, Air India, Lufthansa, pretty much every flag carrier that's out there. We're contracting space to move shipments from the U.S. to India or from the U.S. back to India.
How's it going? Good, except the audio. It's all good. I know, it's fine. I don't know. Arch looks good.
What's that? Okay. Yeah, for U.S. to India. So, and operating in this model, it allows us to offer our customers a broad menu of time and transit, routings, and service profiles to fit whatever need they may have to get goods between the U.S. and India. On the ocean freight side, it's very similar. We do not operate our own steamship lines or vessels. We basically contract with steamship lines to buy space or container capacity from them, and then we resell that to our clients. That comes in the form of dry containers, as well as between the U.S. and India. There's a lot of food items. There's a lot of pharmaceutical traffic that's moving between the two countries. So we utilize a lot of reefer equipment to move those goods in a temperature-controlled environment to ensure that when they arrive at destination, they're in good condition, whether it's a food item or a pharmaceutical product. In addition to all of those core services, where UPS is investing a lot of money is in the technology piece. What we've learned here through COVID is that customers are no longer working in a traditional office environment. They're not as accessible to pick up the phone and call a local forwarding office to get a quotation for a shipment. They'd much rather be able to have digital access over the phone or on their computer to be able to put the parameters of a shipment into a spreadsheet or an online portal to be able to get a quotation. And if the quotation is acceptable, then they would be able to book or execute the shipment online. So through COVID, over the last 12 months, we've developed that capability. On the small package side of our business, we've had capabilities where customers can go online and book and track shipments for a long, long time. But in the international freight arena, it's been something that's been missing. So here in the last 12 months, we've developed a e-commerce tool that customers can go online and be able to get a quotation for a large air freight or ocean freight shipment, as well as be able to book and track that shipment once it gets set up. So we're very excited about that. It's provided customers with a lot of flexibility and benefits in terms of their time.
Scott, that sounds great. And we're all happy that you have a new organization in India as well. And you're going to have a more detailed proposal and information on our website, right?
Correct. That's correct.
Okay, very good. And well, thank you very much. That very informative, and glad to see that UPS is recommitted to covering the entire Indian subcontinent. Thank you very much. I'd like to move on now to our next panelist, Judd Barr. He's the Regional Sales Manager of BCO, which is Beneficial Cargo Owners for Ports of Georgia. And Judd, please give us a quick rundown on what's happening there in Savannah and Brunswick. Thank you.
Hey, good morning, David. Good morning to everybody. Just quickly, again, thanks on behalf of Georgia Ports. We really appreciate this opportunity to provide a quick presentation on the Port of Savannah and how we can essentially help facilitate some of the Georgia agricultural commodities that Commissioner Black reviewed earlier today in this presentation. But before we get into it, some pretty interesting information. I wanted to let all parties know in this call that it's a fabulous time to work for a terminal operator, and I will explain why. So if you essentially hit the rewind button and go back to early 2020, our senior leadership team here at the port was very concerned about the impact COVID-19 would have on our volume. In fact, at that time, we were actually developing our fiscal year 21 budget that runs from July through June. And we had initially forecasted to be down 12%. So that's containerized volume coming through the Port of Savannah, in and out. So fast forward to now, and we're actually wrapping up our fiscal year 21 today, and we're up 20%. So that includes loaded imports, loaded exports, and empties. So if you do the math, that's a 32% swing. So we were just off a little bit in terms of structuring our budget for fiscal year 21. So in summary, and this applies more to imports, but basically in the last 12 to 15 months. Yeah, so in summary, instead of people going out to movies and sporting events, for example, a lot of people have been staying at home over the last 15 months and purchasing items online, which has been driving a lot of freight through the Port of Savannah. So it's been a fabulous year, and we've continued to grow very, very quickly. Can we go to the slide that shows the state of Georgia and the assets of Georgia Ports own?
Sorry, we only have two. We can put that on the website though.
Okay, so that's fine. All right, so this is an aerial overview of Garden City Terminal. So this is our flagship containerized operation where we generate approximately 95% of our revenue. I know most folks on this call are likely based in India, but I know we've got some folks in the Southeast as well. If you've not had a chance to visit the port, please reach out to me and I will be happy to arrange a tour. This place is massive and it's certainly a sight to see. It's a fabulous facility and we'd love to kind of play our part in terms of helping people import and export out of the Port of Savannah. So quickly, some facts and figures. The Port of Savannah, Garden City Terminal, more specifically, it's the largest single terminal operation in North America at 1,345 acres. To put that into perspective, the second largest terminal in the USA is Pier 400 in Los Angeles. Pier 400 comes
Judd,
in.
sorry to interrupt you. Would you like me to run the video now? That will show all
not yet. Can we give it a couple more minutes or do we need to get moving?
Sure, no problem.
Let's just do it at the end of the presentation, if that's okay.
Okay, we got 5 minutes.
Okay, so 400 acres at LAX. So that their terminal would actually sit within our footprint 3 times with some room to spare. So quickly, 2 miles of commercial shoreline, 9 container berths, giving us the capability to work 7 container ships simultaneously, 5 container gates, 34 ship-to-shore cranes, 180 RTGs, those are your rubber-tired gantry cranes that service the stacks, and 34 weekly services. So amongst those weekly services, we have 4 services that come in and out direct from India. That's your Indimex service, your Indus Express service, your India USA service, and your Mekl service. So if you guys need specifics in terms of the ship's rotations, port to call, transit times, etc., please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to help. So long story short, we continue to do very well down here in Savannah. Like I said, we're wrapping up our fiscal year today. We're likely going to come in at about 5.3 million TEUs. If you're not familiar with that acronym, TEU stands for 20-foot equivalent unit. So that's basically a 40-foot container, which you probably see more of on the road, cut in half. So another record year for the port, and we're here and happy to help. So Raj, yeah, now's a great time to go into the video. I think it's about 3 minutes long, but a quick caveat before we start it. This was a video that our executive director, Griff Lynch, put on at our 2019 State of the Port address. So it does have a little bit of age to it, but it still does a great job in terms of encompassing some of the projects we're working on, some of the infrastructure investments we're making, and what the future really looks like at the Port of Savannah. So let's roll through that, and that would conclude my presentation. I don't hear any volume.
Raj, is the audio available?
I can hear you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Judd. That looked fantastic. That looked fantastic. Thank you very much. So thank you, speakers. We had a lot of information today, and we'd like to open it up now to some Q&A for our panelists. Raj, do you have some questions off the chat that you could share with us here? Let's see. Raj?
Give me a second, David. I'm just looking through the chat window.
Okay.
Why don't you go ahead and ask the question first to maybe CG if you have, and then I'll pull out the questions from the chat window.
Okay. Okay, great. A lot of questions are about the Georgia agriculture and, some interesting foods. We've got nutritional items. One question from Mr. Sanjay, what products would be great to import? Well, I would say first off, the kind of products that are unique, not found in India. And, those are a good starting place for us. Okay. So especially as we heard about pecans and nuts and other items, other agricultural products, wood products, those are also very good. Any other questions from the floor?
Do you want me to post the questions, David?
Right. Yeah, we have a few questions right now.
So the first question actually is to, I guess, Commissioner Black, but he's not there. But if any of the other panelists can answer, that would be good. This question is from Sanjay S. Rathore. Which food/agricultural product would be the best to import into India from US and why?
RG, I think you could answer that, or
I'll make an argument for pecans for sure.
Yep.
I won't repeat my whole presentation, but yeah, I do think that plant-based protein, the other nutritional benefits, the great flavor profile, and the fact that it's an entire category of nut that has not really been capitalized on in India make it a prime goal. We just have to get over that tariff. And I guess I failed to mention in my presentation, but I don't think the tariff is protecting any domestic industry. To my understanding, there's no production of pecans in India or any processing of pecans in India. So I think it's focused on revenue, and we know that 10% of something's more than 36% of nothing, right? So if we can just get over that tariff hurdle, I think pecans will be a great option for us.
Thank you, RG. This question is for the Consul General, Dr. Kulkarni. This question is on the tariffs that are being imposed into imports into India. And so there's a lot of questions that our Georgia exporters are asking if the Indian government will do anything about the tariffs to kind of make them more competitive and ease exports out of US and particularly Southeast Georgia into India.
Yes, we are currently exploring that possibility, and it's a part of the overarching trade package, trade deal, which it's on table, and both authorities in those concerned authorities in US and India, they are very much seized with that matter, and hopefully we will have wonderful news on that.
Okay, thank you, Consul General. This question is again from Suresh Joshi. This question is actually on, the question is, what is the percentage of Indian textiles imported by Georgia? So Dr. Kulkarni, would you have any information on the amount of, because we know there's a lot of textile activity in the Carolinas, a lot of companies, particularly from the Coimbatore, Tirupur area and from, I guess, North India, Suraj area have started textile mills in the Carolinas, all those mills. So would you have any data and the amount of textiles that are being imported into Georgia?
See, we do have big carpet people in Georgia. So they are doing a very good business and they have well-established market here. and we want to have much more textile trade also in Mississippi because of the machine related textiles and that sort of thing. So we don't have exact figures as such, but it's one of the important component as far as our bilateral trade between India and Southeast region is concerned.
Thank you, Consul General. This question is for Stefan. This question is from Ash Tucker. His question is, if South Carolina and Florida have offices in India, as Consul General Dr. Kulkarni mentioned, what is preventing Georgia from opening an office in India to promote trade?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Might be above my pay grade. But I mean, there are many different factors. You know, like I mentioned earlier, the offices that we do have cover more than 2/3 of where exports from Georgia go. There are a lot of different factors that go into that. We're constantly. I mean, what I can say though is that we're constantly evaluating. We're looking at markets where there's a lot of export, there's a lot of trade activity. You know, Singapore is another really big market for Georgia exports and foreign trade, but we don't have representation there either. You know, it's a balance between the resources that we do have. We'd love to, of course, have an office in India, and it's something that we're continually evaluating. But yeah, it's always a balance between the resources that we have and trying to make sure that we cover as much territory as possible because those offices are very, very valuable. And so it'll be a continuous part of our plan to evaluate that.
Thank you, Stefan. And David, I now hand over to you.
Paul.
One question and then we go.
Right. Paul Thompson from the state. Can you have a question, sir?
I just wanted to add one thing to the import question that was asked first. So Georgia Grown is a brand that we are very, very proud of and promote. Let me see if my video, I can't start it, but I'm going to make sure that everyone on the call receives some information about Georgia Grown, specifically the person asking the question. Here we go. Now I can start the video, especially the person that was looking for Georgia imports. If you see my shirt, this is a brand, if you can see that we are very proud to represent. So whether that's RG's pecans, whether that's timber, whether that's value added commodities, jams, jellies, sauces, spices, there is a whole range of products that we would be happy to share and talk about the export of those products. So those items can be found on georgiagrown.com, and I'm happy to assist in a full range of those products for anyone who is interested in everything that we offer.
Fantastic. And we're going to post that video.
David, if I could just jump in real quick. In terms of specifics, as it relates to container trade between India and Georgia, I can provide that information at a detailed level if people need it.
Great. Thank you, Judd. Thank you. Dr. Kulkarni, you had one other thing you would like to add?
I just wanted to add some, you can say, corrigendum or a little correction. We have only a trade office. The South Carolina has trade office in India, more specifically it's in Delhi, but Florida doesn't have. So Florida and Georgia, we would love to have their trade offices because we feel in this region they have the most, the bilateral trade between India and Georgia is $3 billion plus, and the same figures are enjoyed by Florida and India. So those offices we really want to push. South Carolina is already a flagship, a milestone in itself. Yeah, one day we'll see. Fingers crossed. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I could not hear that. Anita, was there a question there?
No. Did you hear Consul General's response?
Okay. All right, very good. Well, thank you, everybody. We've had a fantastic 90 minutes here filled with a lot of information, and I hope this is not going to be the end of this discussion. We would like to thank all of our panelists. Dr. Kulkarni, thank you very much. Stefan, Scott, RG, Paul, and everybody else at home. Okay, thank you very much for coming in on this call. We all appreciate your time. Judd, thank you very much. The GIACC is going to have a continuing updates on exports to India on our website. We're hoping that all of you will be getting some information and get contacted about the questions that you're asking in particular. We thank you very much for your attention and time today. I want to again thank everybody for coming on the call, and we look forward to following up with all of you in the near future. Thank you very much. Have a good day and a good evening to all.
This is, David, 1 second. This is I'm S.K. Raj. I'm the president of GIACC. I just want to let you guys know that a full recording of this webinar will be posted in our website, www.giacc.net tomorrow. You can also view recordings of all our past webinars here. In addition to that, if you have any questions that was not answered today, and if you'd like to post it to the panelists, either Dr. Kulkarni or anybody else who was on the panelist, please feel free to send an email to giaccadmin@pro-apg.com. Again, that's giaccadmin@pro-apg.com, and you can access the recording of the webinar in complete tomorrow. And again, thank you all participants. We wish you a pleasant rest of the day. Good night to those of you who joined from India, and good day to all of you who participate from North America. We thank IACC, our event partner, and also Kraft Bank for being a gracious host and allowing us to have this webinar in their facilities. Thank you all. Goodbye.